Welcome back to Film Focus. A teenage girl volunteers to take her sister's place in a televised fight to the death, and somehow that story becomes one of the most influential film franchises of the 2010s. The Hunger Games didn't just entertain millions of viewers worldwide, it sparked conversations about inequality, government control, and the power of media manipulation that feel more relevant today than ever before. From 2012 to 2023, 5 films transported audiences into the dystopian world of Panem, where the capital forces children to battle for survival while the wealthy elite watch for entertainment. Then, nearly a decade later, a prequel brought us back to explore the origins of this brutal system. But these weren't just action-packed blockbusters. They were cultural phenomena that held up a mirror to our own society's struggles with power, privilege, and resistance. Looking at each film in this groundbreaking franchise, examining not just their plots and performances at the box office, but the revelation of human nature and the world we live in. By the end of this exploration, you'll understand why these movies resonated so powerfully with audiences and what vital lessons they offer for our current moment in history. In 2012, The Hunger Games hit theaters. Directed by Gary Ross and adapted from Suzanne Collins' novel, we meet Katniss Everdeen, a 16-year-old living in the impoverished District 12 of Panem, a nation built on the ruins of North America. Every year, the capital holds the Hunger Games, forcing each district to send 2 children as tributes to fight to the death in a televised arena. When Katniss's younger sister Prim is selected, Katniss volunteers to take her place, setting in motion events that will eventually topple the entire system. We also briefly meet Panem, the baker's son who harbors secret feelings for Katniss. Is called as the male teenager tribute, who enters the arena alongside Katniss with 24 tributes in total. These children must battle until only one remains. Through strategic alliances, survival skills learned from hunting in the Forbidden Woods, and a star-crossed lover's angle played up for the cameras, Katniss and Peeta manage to survive together by threatening mutual suicide, forcing the game makers to declare them both winners. This first film was a massive commercial success, earning over $694 million worldwide against a $78 million budget. Critics praised Jennifer Lawrence's powerful performance as Katniss and the film's thoughtful approach to violence, never glorifying the brutality while still delivering the thrills audiences expected. The movie earned praise for its social commentary on media manipulation and economic inequality, themes that resonated strongly during the post-2008 financial crisis era. The ending of the first film establishes Katniss as an unwitting symbol of rebellion. Her defiance in the arena, particularly the suicide threat that forced the capital to crown 2 victors, sends a message to the oppressed districts that the system can be challenged. The berries become a symbol of resistance, and President Snow recognizes the threat she poses to his authoritarian regime. Francis Lawrence took over directing duties for the remaining 3 movies, with the second film, Catching Fire, released in 2013, written by Simon Beaufoy and Michael Arndt, adapting Collins' second novel. Catching Fire finds Katniss and Peeta on their victory tour, traveling to each district to celebrate their triumph. However, their defiance has inspired uprisings across Panem, and President Snow threatens to harm Katniss's loved ones if she doesn't help quell the rebellion. To eliminate the growing symbol of resistance, Snow announces a special Quarter Quell, bringing back previous victors to compete in a new Hunger Games. In this arena, Katniss discovers that several tributes are actually part of a secret plan to extract her and spark a full-scale revolution. The arena itself becomes a clock, with different deadly threats activating each hour. As Katniss begins to trust her fellow tributes, including the enigmatic Finnick Odair and the brilliant Beetee, she learns that District 13, long thought destroyed, still exists and is planning to rescue her. The film culminates with Katniss destroying the arena's force field, using Beetee's electrical plan, leading to her rescue by District 13 rebels. However, the capital retaliates by bombing District 12, leaving Katniss devastated as she realizes the cost of her defiance, just as Snow suspected about her. Catching Fire became an even bigger success than its predecessor, earning over $865 million worldwide. Critics and audiences alike praised the film's expansion of the world building, deeper character development, and more sophisticated exploration of political themes. The movie's depiction of how symbols and media can fuel revolutionary movements felt particularly timely and relevant. The ending reveals the broader scope of the resistance movement and establishes the true stakes of the conflict. Katniss realizes she's been a pawn in a larger game, manipulated by both sides, but ultimately committed to fighting against oppression, even when the cost is devastating. The final book was split into two films, beginning with Mockingjay Part 1 in 2014, directed again by Francis Lawrence and written by Peter Craig and Danny Strong. This film takes a darker, more psychological approach to the story. Following the destruction of District 12, Katniss finds herself in the underground District 13, led by President Alma Coin. The rebels want to use Katniss as the face of their propaganda campaign, the Mockingjay, to inspire the districts to join their cause. Meanwhile, Peeta has been captured by the Capitol and is being used in their own propaganda efforts, gradually being brainwashed against Katniss. As Katniss struggles with post-traumatic stress and survivor's guilt, she reluctantly agrees to become the Mockingjay on the condition that the other victors will be rescued and granted immunity. The film follows her participation in propaganda videos, a rescue mission to save Peeta and the other captured victors, and her growing realization that District 13's methods aren't entirely different from the Capitol's. The rescue mission succeeds, but Peeta has been psychologically tortured and conditioned to see Katniss as a threat.
It's the things we love most that destroy us,
Attacking her when they're reunited. The film ends with this devastating betrayal as Katniss faces the reality that the war has cost her the one person who represented hope and love in her life. Mockingjay Part 1 earned $755 million worldwide, though it was criticized by some for feeling like half a movie and lacking the action sequences that defined the earlier films. However, many praised its mature exploration of trauma, propaganda, and the psychological costs of war. The ending emphasizes how war damages everyone it touches, even the supposed winners. Katniss's realization that she's been manipulated by both sides sets up the final film's exploration of whether any victory is worth the price paid to achieve it. The saga concluded with Mockingjay Part 2 in 2015, again directed by Francis Lawrence with the same writing team. This final installment brings the revolution to its climax as the rebels assault the Capitol itself. Katniss joins a special unit tasked with assassinating President Snow, though her real mission is personal revenge. As they navigate the booby-trapped Capitol, filled with deadly pods designed to kill invaders, the unit faces mounting casualties. The film explores the moral complexity of war as both sides commit increasingly brutal acts. The climax occurs when rebel forces reach the Capitol center, where Capitol children are being used as human shields. Bombs kill many of these children, including Katniss's sister Prim, in what appears to be a Capitol attack but may actually have been a rebel strategy designed by Coin to turn public opinion completely against Snow. In the aftermath, Katniss realizes that President Coin intends to establish her own authoritarian regime, planning new Hunger Games using Capitol children. At Snow's public execution, Katniss instead kills Coin with her arrow, allowing Snow to die from his own blood-filled laughter. Katniss is eventually pardoned and returns to District 12 to rebuild her life with Peeta, who has recovered from his conditioning. The film earned $653 million worldwide, providing a satisfying conclusion to the franchise while maintaining its complex moral themes. Critics appreciated the film's refusal to provide simple answers about justice and revenge, instead showing how cycles of violence perpetuate themselves. The ending suggests that true victory comes not from defeating enemies, but from choosing to break cycles of violence and build something better. Katniss's decision to have children with Peeta represents hope for a future where the next generation won't face the horrors their parents endured. After nearly a decade, the franchise returned in 2023 with The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, again directed by Francis Lawrence and written by Michael Leslie and Michael Arndt. This prequel, based on Collins' 2020 novels, explores the origins of the Hunger Games and the rise of President Snow. Set 64 years before the original trilogy, the film follows 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow as a mentor in the 10th annual Hunger Games. The capital is still recovering from a civil war, and the games are far less elaborate than the spectacles Katniss would later face. Snow is assigned to mentor Lucy Gray Baird, a girl from District 12 who captivates audiences with her musical performances.
Nothing you can take was ever worth keeping.
As Snow develops feelings for Lucy Gray, he begins bending and breaking rules to help her survive the arena. His actions contribute to her victory, but they also expose him to suspicion from the capital authorities. Sent to District 12 as punishment, Snow reunites with Lucy Gray and briefly considers fleeing with her to live freely beyond Panem's borders. However, when Lucy Gray discovers that Snow was responsible for getting her former lover killed, she flees into the woods. In his paranoia and rage, Snow tries to hunt her down, but she vanishes, leaving him to return to the capital where he embraces the ruthless path that will eventually make him the dictator Katniss fights against. The prequel earned $337 million worldwide, a respectable showing, though significantly less than the original films. Critics praised the performances and the exploration of how ordinary people can become monsters, though some felt it didn't quite justify its existence beyond commercial considerations. The ending reveals how Snow's capacity for love was corrupted into a desire for control and power. His transformation from a conflicted young man into a totalitarian leader demonstrates how personal betrayals and disappointments can poison someone's worldview, leading them to impose their pain on entire societies. Beyond their entertainment value, the Hunger Games films offer profound lessons about power, inequality, and resistance that remain startlingly relevant. At their core, these movies warn against the dangers of extreme wealth inequality and the way spectacle can distract from systemic injustice. The capital's citizens live in luxury while the districts suffer, much like contemporary concerns about income inequality and global poverty. The franchise also explores how media and propaganda shape public opinion and political outcomes. The games themselves represent how violence can be packaged as entertainment, numbing audiences to real suffering while serving the powerful interests. This theme resonates strongly in our current era of social media manipulation and information warfare. Perhaps most importantly, these films demonstrate that resistance to oppression is both necessary and costly. Katniss's journey shows that standing up to injustice requires sacrifice, and that victory often comes with unexpected consequences. The movies refuse to glorify war or violence, instead showing how conflict damages everyone involved, even those fighting for just causes. The prequel adds another layer by examining how good people can become complicit in evil systems, and how personal grievances can be weaponized to justify broader oppression. Snow's transformation serves as a warning about how easily idealism can curdle into cynicism and cruelty. The Hunger Games franchise remains a powerful reminder that freedom requires constant vigilance and that the price of progress is often higher than we expect. These films challenge us to examine our own society's power structures and ask ourselves what we're willing to sacrifice for justice, and whether we have the courage to break the cycles that perpetuate suffering for future generations. We cannot wait to see the new Hunger Games film about Haymitch's journey through his Hunger Games and time at the Capitol before meeting Katniss and Peeta. Please, please share with us in the comments which Hunger Games movie was your favorite. My faves are Catching Fire and The Ballad. Let me know your thoughts, and always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next movie.